Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Power Lunch. I am Michael Whitehouse, your host. Some of our other guests, they're guests, not contestants, not a game show, are getting their cameras fixed and whatnot. So that's why it's my big face. Don't worry, they're coming on in a moment. I want to ask you all a favor, though, in these early moments, which is that our local newspaper, The Day in Southeast Connecticut, has a Best of the Best contest. And you can vote from anywhere in the world if you have an email address. So go to guywhoknowsaguy.com/day, and that will take you to the right page. You then scroll down to local podcaster or podcast, I think is what this category is, and put in Michael Whitehouse, the guy who knows a guy. Now, you can only vote once per email address per day. So definitely don't cheat, because if you had like 3 email addresses and you voted with each one, that you definitely shouldn't do that. That would not be a thing you should do. Only vote one time. Sorry, I saw my eye there. Okay. All right, enough of that. Let's bring on our guests. Hello, everybody. Nicole, Melissa, and James. So in the usual fashion, I know Melissa's been on the show before, and Nicole and James are here for the first time. So the style is that we're going to go around, do a quick introduction first, and then each of you have submitted a topic you'd like to talk about. So I will call on one of you and you'll talk for about 2 minutes or so on the topic, and then we open it up and have a conversation. And then at some natural segue point, I will then call on someone else and say, talk about your topic. Sometimes they're comfortable segues. Sometimes we just run out of things to say on one topic and we just into another topic. Who knows what's going to happen? But I find that the power of serendipity, bringing together 3 or 4 random people, works really well for us and hasn't failed us yet. So don't let it fail this time either. I mean, I'm sure it'll be great. We'll be great. We're all fun people. So we're going to start by just going around the room. We'll start with Nicole and go clockwise, counterclockwise. That's what it's called. We'll go clockwise. So give us just a quick introduction about who you are, a minute or so. And then we'll go into our first topic. And our first topic person will be 6 seconds or less. That sounds like James. I'll have James go first and introduce the topic, because that seems like a quick one. It's probably, actually, I imagine it takes a lot of time to get it really short. So I heard someone once say, if you wanted me to use less words, you should have given me more time. I think that's like,
it's a famous Winston Churchill quote.
Winston Churchill. I knew someone famous and statesmanly. So Nicole, tell us about yourself and what makes you awesome.
What makes me awesome? I like that question. Probably because I think everybody's awesome and we all need to know our awesomeness. And that's kind of how I came up with the needs languages. Let's see. I like to talk about my education because I did my my undergrad with business and conflict resolution and my master's in industrial organizational psychology. I like to say you need a degree to say it or spell it. And yeah. So I like to abbreviate IO. And I'm an author. I've written 3 booklets on the needs languages. The needs languages are about how our personalities communicate. I noticed that our personality models weren't talking about how people communicated with their personalities. And I thought that was kind of strange, because don't people communicate with their personalities? So me and a co-collaborator developed this, and we're about ready to release our 4th booklet. And super excited. I'm about ready to do my first TED Talk in April. And I'm a big component on DEI. I'm really big on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And that's me. I really speak a lot on especially disabilities. I have an unseen disability. I'm really open about it and I talk about it. And I think we should all be more inclusive with each other and understand each other's languages. And that's me.
All right. Fantastic. Looking forward to going into more of that. So next up we have James. Tell us about what makes you awesome.
What makes me awesome? Well, I will put a caveat in front. You can double check everything I'm about to say with my wife. I'll put her phone number in the chat here, and she'll be happy to fill you in on all of the things that I'm not, in fact, awesome with. But I have been banging around the marketing and advertising world for 40 years or so, at a fairly high level. I've had the interesting opportunity to have practiced what I do in 4 different countries on 3 different continents. I've had great chances to work with Fortune 50 brands and brands that you're all very familiar with. And this has given me just a wealth of experience and knowledge about what works, what doesn't work. My passion right now is taking that experience and helping smaller businesses avoid the mistakes that they seem to want to make and maximize the impact of digital marketing on their business growth. They all recognize that they need to do this. Unfortunately, there are a lot of snake oil salesmen out there in the digital marketing world, and it's my passion to try to beat some of that back with sensible, reasonable, and rational, fact-based direction on what they should and shouldn't do.
I love it. And I was about to, as I brought up your website there, I'm like, James is innately awesome.
Well, you can take the English major out of the guy, but it's hard to. So I've got a couple of puns. It's also the tagline is websites without worry, which of course is www. But
Nice. Well played. All right. And Melissa, tell us what makes you awesome.
Oh, wow. Let's see. Well, I will say I'm pretty sparkly. I embrace my pixie-like personality, so I will always bring the energy and fun to wherever we go. But probably more particularly, I'd say I'm on a mission, as it were, to say, to start to break this idea down that the word seduction is not a bad word. And when we start to look at it as a word that's in a positive light as opposed to a negative light and not in a manipulation fashion or anything that's getting people to do something that they wouldn't ordinarily do, then I think I'm starting to do what I'm supposed to be doing here on this fun planet Earth. But seduction, in the way I talk about it, look at it, and hopefully get others to look at it, is it's all about persuasion. And right now we're all doing a form of social seduction, which is getting people to want to watch the podcast, hear what we have to say, and listen to our opinions. So the more we can understand that, understand ourselves in the equation and others, then the more impact we'll be able to have. And then the more we'll just be able to transform our life in the process.
Very nice. All right. So here we are back in the big room. And yeah, whenever I come back to this shape, by moving them around, it always changes the order. So it's like musical chairs when we come back. So if you feel disoriented, you should. It's totally reasonable. So our first topic, we're going to have James talk a little bit about 6 ways to engage website visitors in 6 seconds or less. That sounds challenging but impressive. James, tell us about it.
It takes longer to tell you about it than it does to do, but this is, again, my passion is helping business owners maximize their impact using online marketing. And the website is their most valuable digital asset that they own. Most of the other digital channels that they're going to be used are rented land. And as such, they can be very dangerous. I don't need a website. I have a Facebook page. Yeah, really not a good idea. You should have a Facebook page, no question, but recognize that it's rented land and Facebook can and will change the rules, and they will not call you up and ask you about it. They'll just do it and you're stuck. So the website is the most valuable digital asset you own. But that has to be, you have to recognize that the attention span of folks that arrive at your website, I mean, they say that a goldfish has a 9-second attention span. You should be so lucky. You have 6 seconds or less to engage your website visitors. And in that 6 seconds, you have to do a lot of things. And the first thing you have to do within that 6 seconds is the page has to load. And when I do assessments on websites and run them through our diagnostic tools, and I see 4.2 seconds required to load the page, 4.2 seconds is a pretty good chunk of 6. So what are you going to do in that last 2 seconds? Less than 2 seconds. You need to tell people they're in the right place. You need to give them a benefit-oriented reason to stay. And this is probably the mistake that's most often made. Being inside out rather than being outside in. Talking about yourself rather than talking about your prospect's problem. So benefit-oriented reason to stay. You need to make it crystal clear what they should be doing next. What's their path? And when I say what they should do next, that doesn't just mean the call to action. That also means if you've got sub-segments in your audience, where do they go? You need to inspire trust. That's social proof or brands you've worked with or 5-star ratings or testimonials, ways to, why should I believe you? And this is where your features and attributes get involved in terms of, okay, I've made this problem statement. I've maybe agitated the problem. I've presented a solution. Why should I believe you? Right? So these are all the things that need to be done in 6 seconds or less. I'm just checking my cheat sheet here to make sure I haven't forgotten anything because sometimes I get off on a tangent. Make the damn page easy to read. Great giant blocks of copy do not work. You want images. You want the visual hierarchy to be very natural and instinctive. You need to reassure people they're in the right place. If you've got a headline in an ad, don't have a completely different headline on the landing page. If you've got a logo, make sure that logo is where people expect to see it. Use the same colors and fonts that you're using in your ads and in your promotional material. Don't get them thinking about something that's unimportant. Make sure that they know they're in the right place. So that's 6 ways to engage website visitors in 6 seconds or less. Make sure the page loads quickly. Tell the visitors they're in the right place. Provide a benefit-oriented reason to stay. Include plenty of eye-catching visuals. Inspire trust. And make the call to action clear.
Awesome. That's some good stuff. So you're saying like light gray on a white background, that's not that's not a good style choice?
No.
Because I've seen it.
If your audience is over 40, sadly, there's nobody in this room that qualifies, but if you're over 40, the old ocular power degrades.
Yep.
And contrast is king. I reviewed a site yesterday and they had their blue is in their logo. They had a big old call to action up in the navigation that had a dark blue background. They had blue in their header and their buttons were blue. And I said to the guy, so what am I supposed to look at? Everything's blue.
I think Eiffel 65 wrote a song about that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, that's some really great key tips and really and just simple stuff that you don't always think about. And I've talked to a few people who talk about the difference between a web marketer and a web designer. Mm-hmm. Because a designer can make a really pretty website and the colors are beautiful and they go together. I'm sure that blue site looked wonderful.
Yeah.
Looked like you could print out and hang it on the wall in a frame, but you didn't know what to click on, so it didn't make any green.
Right.
It just made blue.
And that's what I love reviewing pretty sites. I call it designers run amok. And it can be pretty and be functional. But you need to start with the functional because a website is a utility. And your folks are there to gain value. And you as a business want to use your website to deliver value. And when you create that environment of mutual value exchange, suddenly the thing is working like gangbusters.
I like it. It's important stuff. Quick note, hello to my friend Chad, who apparently just got his audio working and can now listen to us.
Hi, Chad.
So he's probably messaging me. So Melissa, I feel like that this works in your realm. I think about like seducing through a website to some degree.
As he was speaking, I was like, this sounds like a lot of ingredients in the art of seduction, or as I like to talk about it, seduction being a form of persuasion and not necessarily just a means to an end to that one room in the house that we all know that we're talking about, right? So you need to, of course, in seduction, be able to grab someone's attention. There needs to be things that are there that are desirous. So if you do have a call to action, right, you want it to make people desire it. You don't just want it to be the same old thing that everyone else has. Like your colors, create the desire. So I think, everything in a website is certainly applicable to creating a seductive experience, and ideally one, right, that will lead them into whatever call to action or ways to turn that, blue website. Maybe he was in a blue state of mind, but to get a little green at the end, like you said, instead of blue at the end. So there's definitely ways that you can use that to your advantage and use it for marketing purposes as well. Because one of the things I talk about in one of my books is the idea of this equation, which talks about attraction plus obstacles equals excitement. And so we can apply that to not only our personal, interpersonal relationships, right, to kind of create some spice and things like that, but when we take those pieces independently, we can also apply that to a business model or rolling out of a website or rolling out of a launching of a product. So if we get people excited about it, for example, everyone wants to have it. And then, everyone's, I think, experienced this where, let's say, Michael told me this great new subscription I need to be a part of, and I'm like, oh, great. He's really sold me on it. I'm ready to go. He gives me the link. I'm ready to purchase. I get to the website and there's the fun, wait list. So now all of a sudden you've created an obstacle for me to have your product. So as our human nature now makes that thing which we cannot have immediately more desirous to us. So that your job then as the business owner, if you're doing a great job on the back end, is you're doing that great nurture marketing campaign. So by the time you roll out the open cart and I get that email that says, hey, I'm allowed to buy this subscription that Michael told me I had to have that will change my life, I'm like the first one there, like I'm pushing someone out of the line to be the first one there to purchase. So, being able to take these pieces from something that is normally looked at from the art of seduction, you could definitely use it in more of these social seduction situations, which we're all being a part of anyway. So we're either on the side of the equation where we're persuading people to do, buy, have, or be what we're about, or other people are doing it to us, so that's why we're driving the cars we drive, where we live, what makeup we wear, where we get our hair done, what brands we align with. So it's this fun, dance of the persuasion game. And I definitely think, your website is the first part of that dance, when we're out here doing business and being entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I'm reminded of on the flip side of that there was an event that I went to, and it was a tremendous event. I made amazing connections, and as soon as I left, I'm like, everyone needs to go to this event next time I go. And I started telling people. I was telling people on my website. I was telling people on my podcast. I was telling people on my Facebook, you gotta go to this event. You gotta go to this event. It's an amazing networking event. And then after a few months of me saying this event was amazing, oh, it's coming around again, they put out their landing page. And their copy was something about like, it's a new form of customer acquisition. Nothing on it mentioned networking. There was nothing on there that mentioned that you would make connections there, that you'd collaborate. And I'm like, can I even promote this anymore? Because my promotion had to be this, well, remember that event I was talking about? It's actually this. I know the landing page doesn't talk about any of that, but definitely, trust me, it's there. Go there, you're going to find that thing. And they kind of over packaged it instead of just saying, here's what it was. And I think it was optimized to sell the product on the back end. I think they actually did. So I can't fault them too much, because I think they made more money. But it's just one of those, to my mind, it had this brand of a fantastic networking connection opportunity. And then the landing page was one of those, 14 pages of copy about client acquisition theory.
Right. And that's the am I in the right place thing.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah,
Yep.
because you get totally confused, and then it seems, and then so that's where, yeah, it's the opposite, because you want to have obstacles that are good obstacles, right? You want to make an obstacle a good or a fun or a practical or something that makes sense. So that becomes now an obstacle that's actually an obstacle for someone. And instead of, like, you have 6 seconds or less, they're not going to look at that long thing. If you didn't recommend it to them, they'd already be off the page.
Right.
Yeah.
And also the what you're talking about, Melissa, is really powerful in the context of a marketing funnel. Because I've analyzed marketing funnels a lot, and I write about marketing funnels a lot, because marketing funnel has been around forever. It has people think it's a new technology, and no, it's been around forever. And when people say my funnel's not working, and I'll look at it and I said, well, you're doing a great job of attracting people into the front of the funnel. You're going, hi, my name is, and then the next thing out of your mouth is your place or mine.
Right. Exactly.
And there's nothing in the mid funnel
There's no
to
dance.
build any know, like, or trust. There's nothing there to build any kind of relationship.
But part of it is you have to know how you connect with people.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't understand connection, you're not going to be able to write that copy. So when you were talking about the person who had blue all over their site, they loved that color, which was probably beautiful, but they weren't thinking about what other colors other people like.
Right.
When you were pointing at the green, Melissa, green is great and it's a beautiful color on you. It may not be for the other person. And so when you're thinking about this, you have to think about, a lot of times you have to think about yourself, but you also have to think about your audience and combine both, because you are bringing yourself and that other person there. So it's showing them who you are in the way that feels safe for you, but also saying, I hear who you are. And bringing that connection in is so when you know people's personality types and how they communicate, you can bring that into your copy. You can bring this into all sorts of things. I was speaking with a writers group, and they're like, oh my gosh, we could use this in our writing to develop our characters. And so but it's really, you have to know your audience and know what your audience is wanting and needing. And when you know people's personalities and how they communicate, it can help you even define your audience even more in some aspects.
Right. That's so true. Outside in versus inside out. And, I'll get a call from somebody who wants to talk about their website, and we'll spend an hour talking about the customer avatar, the customer journey. And at the end of the conversation, he says, you never talked about the website. And I said, everything I talked about was about the website.
Right. Yeah. Lead them down the success path. We as a brand or business, we're not supposed to be the hero of the journey. The customer, the client, whomever you call it, they are. So we start to shift it from that perspective and be more of that guide and the person that's, keeping an eye on them and understanding them and empathizing and being able to take them down the path away from whatever issue or problem or obstacle they might be facing. Then you create much, I think, stronger, long-term lasting relationships with them, and certainly the better chance that they will want to go out and tell other people about what you have to offer as well.
Yes, absolutely.
I think some of the issues have been as our society is we've either focused so much on community or we focus so much on the individual, and we haven't known how to have balance in that. We haven't known how to be the individual and then also be able to be in community. We haven't. And so the way I have it, this is my Nicoleism. We're all a piece of the puzzle. The puzzle the puzzle piece is very unique in its own way, but it fits in the puzzle. Without that puzzle piece, the puzzle isn't complete. So it's knowing how the individual puzzle piece looks, which is you, knowing where you fit in and how that all works together. And so in a way, that's what you're doing with the website, James, is it's like that puzzle, and you're looking at all the pieces and the components, but you're helping them also with the customer base and how to connect that.
Right.
And so we're not a connected society. And that's, I think, one of the biggest things is we don't know how to connect.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, I'm going to segue that to Nicole. Have you talk a bit about your topic, needs languages? Because I think that may bring some interesting things into this discussion. And doesn't mean we're done talking about websites, but I want to have you talk a bit about needs languages and that concept and bring that in. So, Nicole, take it away on needs languages.
So the needs languages, oh, I just became James there for a second.
Everybody wants to be James.
Wow. I know Portland has our, we're a big community of changes here, but that was, that's not a change I'm ready to go through or want. I think you're awesome, but I'm going to keep me and my personality type here. And I don't think your wife would like it if she came home to me. Yeah, that might not work out.
We need Melissa for that.
Okay. Melissa will be the one helping the seduction there then. Okay, this is going way down another whole line. I'm going to stop.
I said, you never know what's going to happen on the Power Lunch podcast. Magic of live television right
that
here.
would be a way of Melissa connecting,
So tell me about those needs languages.
Don't get me in trouble over here, guys. I'm not a home wrecker. I'm a home builder, and it's all about the light and the love and the persuasion.
So the needs languages came out of what I was just talking about. I was seeing that things weren't connected. I was doing classes in college, and I was going, like in business school, going, how come there's a conflict resolution department here and you guys aren't using conflict resolution? Oh, that's a social thing. Don't you need conflict resolution in business? And it was when I was doing my master's and I was studying like the leadership stuff. It was like, you don't bring conflict resolution or communication into these models. Okay, this doesn't make any sense to my brain. And as I was looking at the personalities, I was like, okay, wait, nothing seems connected. And I looked up Jung and Hippocrates, which is the basically the founding fathers of personalities. And I looked at communication models and said, we really bring ourselves and how we communicate and the patterns of certain personalities, which is the history to the table. And this is how we communicate. And that's how the needs languages were born. It was actually born on a road trip in Montana. Now, Portland is known for being innovative. Austin, Texas is known for being innovative. Silicon Valley in California, innovative. No one thinks of Montana on a road trip as being innovative. I'm changing Montana right now. Cow needs language. What do you think? And so when you're driving, you're having this conversation. And that was, yes, Montana, the new home of innovation. You can say that, but then you got to give me credit here. If that becomes a bumper sticker, I want credit. So we just really started noticing that people have patterns. These personality types have patterns. And so there's 4 basic types. There's right, control, important, and value. And we're 2 out of the 4, how we primarily see our world. And we connect with our romantic partners in one that's the same and one that's different. And then in our world, we have to have at least one connection with someone or a connector, a person who has, like, a connector would be, for me, would be a person, like, I'm an important value. I would be with someone who's a value and a control with a control right. So they would connect me with value and connect control with the control right. Otherwise, I'm not going to work well with the control right. So what happens is this can explain why you struggle with people. It can explain when you're out of alignment. So if 2 rights don't work, aren't the same, you can understand this. So I give a really good example. Biden and Trump were 2 right people. Their other needs languages were different. But they were 2 right, but they couldn't see rights. Their rights didn't align. And that's why they struggled. And so this gives you the ability to now speak languages to people, hear what people are saying, and know how to communicate. especially if you don't match. Like I don't match with control rights a lot of times. I now can speak control or right language with them. And I know when I'm with other people how to connect. And it's just been very powerful. How to find your romantic partner. You can actually put on your dating site, like IV, I like CVs, and it gives you that ability to know what you like, who you are, how to find balance. Because if you're not balanced, this is another one. You become like an obnoxious little twit and people don't want to be around you, or your community struggles. So it's really about discovering who you are and being balanced so you can create your belonging.
And so you mentioned that 4 personality types, control, right, values, and important. Could you quickly run down what each of those are? Because do they map to the DISC profile that many of us know, or are they completely?
Man, they're not. It's not DISC. I don't use DISC. And control is about the environment.
Okay.
So they like their environment a certain way, and there's just before I'll step back a second. There's 6 total. So 2 were 2, and that equals out to 6. Right is right, wrong, good, bad. They're more your belief people. Important people. Oh, those are the people who get to be. You walk in a room and they are just noticed. An important person. They're very priority based, goal oriented, going to get the prize, driven people. And then value people are about cost benefit. I like to say a lot of times they're like your Jungle Book birds, the vultures from what do you want to do tonight? I don't know. What do you want to do? I don't know. No, don't start that again. They're those, and they have to see a benefit or cost really to make a decision. And they really usually feel fairly deeply. And again, there's when they combine, there's patterns to them. And this is just kind of a basic overview.
Okay. That's an interesting concept.
But when I say it, I can almost think, I know an important person. Oh, I know that control person. I know, yeah, Melissa, I know that value person. Oh, I know that right person. But they're all needed. And you really want to make this very, very clear. All are needed. It's just finding balance.
Yeah, I like that concept of each person has 2. That makes it a lot more dynamic than DISC, which is definitely feels like the mainframe of personality types. Like the old computers used to take up a room that used to be pretty state of the art. Now we're the one that everyone knows, but not necessarily the one everyone should use. So everyone feel free to jump in if you have something. Don't wait for me to call on you or anything, in case anyone was.
I would just say I think it's definitely important that we can understand, not only ourselves, but the ones that we're interacting with, because it's sort of just like, just trying to figure out where you're, like the old fashioned days, we would have to look on a map to see where we're going now. But now we rely on our phone. But if Wi-Fi goes out or something, we don't know where our directions are going. We don't know how to get to anywhere or do anything now. Most people, I don't even know if they carry maps in their car anymore. But like us old school people probably do. But
the computers fail.
Can't fail on the map. But same thing like with our relationships and business interpersonal. If we don't understand who the other person is we are interacting with, I don't see how we can ever set ourselves up for any type of win-win at the end of the day. Because if you're just you could have conflict, because if I'm like a control person in the sense I like a neat, tidy surrounding, but I get with someone, that's one of the other types, and like Nicole's saying, we are just banging heads. One of us at the end of the day has to realize what's going on so we can be the ones, I think, to adapt. It's sort of like expecting other people to change. We can't expect other people to change how they are. So we either have to adapt, we change ourselves to respond to them, or we just have conflict, I think, unnecessarily and stress in our lives, because we're not open-minded enough to say, okay, this is the reality. We're all different. And the more I can understand my fellow human, the better, we'll all make for a better day and reality each day.
Nicole, I have a really neat story so I'm an important value. I met the person in value and their control value. I was going to do something. Now, important people, I'm running the race. So I'm going to get that prize. I'm going through the blackberry bushes and flip-flops. I don't care. I'm getting that prize. I'm so focused. And they're trying to control my importance and going like this. And I'm like, you will not stop. I'm going to get that prize. I'm going to get it. And so they had to come at it a different angle. When they spoke value to me and did cost versus benefit, this is going to cost you more. You go through those blackberry bushes, you're going to be stingy. We're going to have to put Bactine on you. You remember that smell and that sting, and you might fall off the cliff and lose a flipper, the flip flop, and twist your ankle. They started to show me through the language of cost. I took another perspective and stepped back.
Mhm.
Is this connected at all to learning styles?
I haven't put it with learning styles, but you probably could.
Yeah, because this is a problem that I deal with frequently. Earlier today with a client, and she was like, well, how do we solve this problem? She was describing her customer was struggling with the steps to take.
Mhm.
And I said, well, when they fill out the form, you need a confirmation page, and then you need to give them the steps that they need to take, but you need to do it multiple ways. Do a video, write it out, and then provide some diagrams. It's all, you're saying the same thing in all three vehicles, but different people learn different ways. And I couldn't get her to understand what I was talking about because she said, but it's clear to me.
Because you were speaking a different language than they could interpret.
Right. And so then we had the conversation about outside in versus inside out, and said, you've got to think about it in terms from the people who are consuming this information are not you. And we can't pass judgment on their learning style. So if this is important to you, then give it to them in multiple learning styles, and they'll pick the one that's best suited to them.
So
I have this conversation probably weekly with somebody.
So then what I'm learning, so for example, I had a child, I still have that child, but when they were 3, they said they could say the word consequences. And I thought, oh, they're so brilliant. They're such a brilliant child. Now, and they're still smart. Now I realize the word consequences is a right word. They're right. They understood the concept. When I was 3, I would have never said consequences because that's not a right word. That's not how I think. I have to talk to them in that language in a lot of aspects. And again, this isn't, I'm not going to go as, I can't go as deep in this, but if you learn these other languages, it can really help you. It can save a lot of heartache, a lot of stress. You'll know when you want to walk away, when you want to stay. It helps you navigate things. It helps you resolve conflicts when you're opposites and you know it. And opposites needs.
It's fascinating.
Yeah, well, like it makes sense. My daughter's 7, and she definitely. We discovered the clearer the rules are, the more she likes them. Because we started out with a very permissive style. I have no experience with kids, so I'm like, let's pretend it's an adult but small and see how it goes. And it actually went okay. But when we then put rules on, what we found was there would be initial pushback, and then we pushed through that pushback. There would be no more pushback. Like we put a rule in recently. Actually, did a video on it this morning. No more YouTube in the mornings, because she would wake up, turn on. YouTube can now be on every screen in the house thanks to the miracles of modern technology. So first thing in the morning, YouTube comes on. It's on until she leaves and gets to the bus. She gets home from school. Boom, YouTube gets on. Is on until she goes to bed, which I'm not sure is great for her, and I know was driving us nuts because a lot of these channels are noisy. Yeah. They weren't like when I watch them, they're not bad, but when they're in the next room and you just hear the spikes of noise. So this morning, my wife finally said, okay, let's not have no YouTube in the morning. And at first, Rowan was resistant to it, but we said, like, this is the way it is, and we explained to her that it's because she, if because if she has this constant stimulation, she's gonna have trouble paying attention. She's gonna have these. It's just like, okay, because she understands good for her. And then of course the TV would just turn itself on in the morning. Who knows how it happened? Power surge? I don't know. So I offered to help her. I said, if it does it again, I'll just take the TV out of your room. That'll solve the problem.
Right.
And I did. And again, when she realized what happened, she's like, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, you're not in trouble. I'm fixing this by taking the TV out. And she did get upset. She didn't throw a tantrum because the rules were, I think, because the rules were clear. It's like, no TV in the morning. That is the rule. And my wife kept trying to negotiate and be like, well, we'll see. And maybe if you do this, we'll do that. Maybe. I'm like, no, there is no maybe. Rule, white, black, boom. That's got to be the rules, because she needs that clarity and that predictability. And sure enough, which I think that's your right category, right? That's right, wrong, black, white.
It can be. There's also the other thing you're talking about too is it sounds like Gretchen Rubin wrote a great model called I think it's the 4 tendencies, and it's a folder. You know about it, Melissa. Yeah. And that also can play a factor. Again, I say that we need to combine some things, because some things will change, and move. I've written about the difference between love languages and the needs languages, but how they can play a factor in your relationships, because they are connecting you. That, so if your child is being an upholder and you're an upholder and rules are important, that's going to play a factor. That's going to be an influence. Because I'm an upholder, and so I see things differently. And my child was a rebel. That was really fun.
Nice.
And right value, which made it even more fun. And so I had to really learn how to navigate that. So that's also another factor that comes into play. So there's a lot of factors. However, what I like about this model is it's just pretty simple. You'll know, because the right wrong is it's either they can be wishy-washy sometimes if they haven't locked in their right or wrong. But if they believe something, they believe it, and they take a while to transition to believing something different. So it is learning the language. You will say things. You will tell people who you are and what you believe. We always are speaking what we feel and think. It just comes out.
And so speaking of language, I'm going to segue that to persuasion and seduction. Melissa, it's time for your topic that I'm sure everyone's waiting for. Whoop, wrong button. There we go. Now
Right
you're
button,
on the
wrong button, left brain, right brain, this button, that button.
I went to drag you in, and the remove button popped up. I'm like, no, remove her. Put her in bigger, not smaller, bigger. So, all right, Melissa, now you're bigger. Take it away. Uh-oh, now you're frozen. Is she frozen?
She's frozen. Now she's back.
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry.
Now you're back. Okay. Take it away.
Sometimes I can't persuade everything to my side of things, with technology being sometimes one of them, but I'm working on it. But yeah, so seduction is my passion, of course, and it's not just because it's a passionate topic for a lot of people, as the connotation can apply. But I look at seduction from, like we were talking about with Nicole, a different angle, so that we can utilize these principles and ideas for more than just the usual purposes. So I like to take seduction from, like I say, being all about the persuasion side of things. It's more about understanding human nature, yourself first, so you can go outward and understand others. And that makes it great, because you realize it's more about psychology and not beauty. It's not a beauty contest, right? So we've all seen, great people that are seducers and charmers, the Clintons and the various, people in the world that have these abilities. And sometimes they're maybe not the most attractive, but they've been able to learn these techniques and ideas to harness it, to their benefit. And to me, that's why I say it's like ideas and principles that when I studied and looked at them and tried them out on myself, I call them like my social experiments, because I have to be the guinea pig first before I can tell you to try it. So I realized, these ideas about having the right mindset, confidence, looking at the world in a particular way, using different principles to our advantage are universal ideas. So we can start to apply them and use them, like I say, in my opinion, I think it's almost more important to use them now in a social setting than almost in the romantic setting, because there are a lot of people that write about that and coach on that and things like that. So there is a lot of options there. But I think from a business and leadership perspective, we're not always taught about the benefit and the value of the mindset shifts we need, the confidence that we need, and then how these principles can actually make you more memorable, more confident, and be the type of person who gets their, phone call picked up when they call. And, I don't know about you, but in my opinion, one of the hardest things in business is getting someone to actually take your phone call so you can get an appointment to try to build a relationship to sell them. So if we can have this as part of our innate personality and our default mode of operating, if you will, then chances are you'll be more like, the guy who knows a guy who can connect all the dots and everyone remembers. And, you'll just be that person that comes to mind no matter what genre you might fall into under someone's, mental Rolodex, if you will.
Yeah. Go ahead, Nicole.
I was just going to ask, Melissa, integrity plays a factor in this too, because there's two different kinds of persuasion. There's the cult-like persuasion, which we've seen a lot in marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the integrity persuasion, where it's you already wanting it and it's helping you make that decision to move forward with it. Because I was talking to a marketing friend that was really struggling because of all the
Right. Well, and that's why I kind of look at it like, the light and the dark of it. You can always use the information you attain in this world for good or quote unquote evil, right? So seduction is no different. And that to me is why it's almost even very frustrating, because if you look up the definition in the dictionary of seduction, half of the words and descriptors of it are all in the negative connotation of the word. Right. And I don't buy that. That's not the only way that you can use the ideas and principles, is to manipulate or get people to do something they don't want to do, or use a power to become a cult-like leader that does all these crazy things. So yeah, with, like they say, with great power comes great responsibility. So definitely have to be able to have that personal integrity and moral compass to say, hey, I could probably do it for all these bad things, and create all these great schemes and all these, bad, do all this manipulating. But at the end of the day, we do have to look ourselves in the mirror, and there is a light side of it that's not, that's not a gray area,
Right. There's
mhm.
also a practical aspect of that. I mean, when earlier in my career, and over the course of my career, I've been involved with loyalty programs quite frequently. And a researcher I was working with, this is way back in the 90s, said something very profound in a meeting. He said 90% of loyalty problems can be traced to a flawed sales process.
Mm-hmm.
And, and that's what got me thinking about it. And it generated the 5 relationship principles that I developed back then. They're still, if you do a search for relationship marketing principles, my writing on this stuff will come up to on the top page. And it's fundamentally, it all came from that one statement around this. And that if you get the right customers in for the right reasons, you're using persuasion / seduction, but you're doing it in a way that builds a relationship and builds, quality interaction. You end up with a customer that's a lot more loyal. And
Right.
Loyal customers, are huge revenue drivers for a business. They've got 5 different ways that a loyal customer contributes revenue to a business. So you can keep that loyal customer because you brought them in the right way, and generate benefits from them for a long period of time, or you can constantly play the fill the leaky bucket game, right? Which is seduction, persuasion done the wrong way,
Right.
or
The bad way.
the bad way. Exactly.
Yep.
So
The more time
there's-
involved way.
Right.
Well,
There's practical implications of what you're saying from a business perspective. I love it.
And I'm reminded what Nicole was saying in terms of the cult-like persuasion, that event I was talking about, that when I went back the second time, they'd shifted the sales model, because it was an event that was built to sell a thing, which is fine. That's how you get into really low-cost, high-value events. But they really leaned in on the cult-like sales process, which when you're in it, like, you're kind of feeling the currents are pulling you along.
Yeah, it's going.
And there's this hour-long period where it's like Q&A, but people are off with the coaches getting sold, and someone come back and be like, "Hey, welcome Melissa to the family. She's gonna change the world in the program." And everyone cheer for the person who just signed up and spent a whole bunch of money. And then the next day, whether you bought or not, you're like, "Wait a minute." Ugh. At the time you were in it, and then afterwards, I'm sure we've all had experiences, whether in sales or otherwise, where at the time it felt really great. And afterwards, you're like, what did I do? What was I part of? And so when you're doing it the wrong way, you do it the right way, then people still feel good about the decision they made 24, 48 hours later.
Right.
Years, probably, ideally years, right?
Yes.
Like James
Yep.
is talking about. Yeah, I mean, you don't want to have that icky feeling.
Yeah.
You know, like you as the person creating that experience for someone, and then you as the person receiving it. I feel like nobody wants to feel that icky thing at the end where you, like you say, like, I gave the credit card, I'm so excited, I'm ready to go, and then I go back to my room and I'm like, I don't know, like, something
What did I
feels
buy?
amiss now, you
Yep.
know, and then that's where, even if you did initially buy into that, I think because you felt that second reaction, it wouldn't be as productive of an outcome for you anyway, because then your mindset has shifted to another place where, it didn't originally start, which would affect the outcome for you with that particular program.
Yep. Well, and
So
go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'm still stuck on with great power, with great responsibility comes that I'm thinking the Spider-Man song. I wanted
That's
to
what
say
it is
we're
from
all-
Spider-Man.
Yeah,
That's a
I'm
Spider-Man
thinking
quote.
we're all old enough to know that song, Spider-Man, Spider-Man.
Mhm. Sorry, I got that
And
in your
I
head.
I know this is just going through my head, and I'm like, I want all of us to sing it for some reason.
Maybe you put in the
Because
show
it's-
credits.
Yeah, keep that thought of being responsible when we have that power.
Yep.
Mhm.
But and the other thing I heard someone say at some, I can't remember who I can credit to, me, I don't know. But so the quote is, with great power comes great responsibility, but with great responsibility comes great power.
Mhm.
Once you accept responsibility and you say, my life is the result of my choices, the way people react to me is the result of my choices, there's a lot of power in taking the responsibility, as opposed to, oh, why does this always happen to me? And why am I so, why won't these clients answer the phone, stupid clients? Why won't they buy, stupid customers?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Shifting that
Ability
perspective,
Ability to respond is responsibility.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have the ability to respond. When you're reacting, you're reenacting.
Mhm.
You're reenacting the pattern.
Absolutely, yeah. But and to something, I think it's something Melissa said too. Talking about the being attractive versus pursuing. My sales process for my networking concierge program is literally sharing the details and then giving them the opportunity to say, yes, I'm interested, and then asking them questions to see if I want to work with them. And it's a totally different model from most, and it's because I authentically have the scarcity of, I've got a limited number of spots. I need to work really closely with the client. I need to actually like them, because I'm not going to find introductions for someone I don't like.
Right.
But it really is about creating, creating that they're drawn in. And I'm not, I'm not I don't overcome objections with that. They need to overcome my objections if I'm uncomfortable to work with them to hire me for this. And you know, I'm in a rarefied position. It took me 20 years to finally find the spot where I'm that unique. But it is a really powerful thing, and a lot of it comes from knowing what I can offer and knowing what they need, which applies to both the traditional, you know, sexual seduction and business seduction. It's instead of being like, here's what I have. You know, if somebody shows up and they're all like, look at me, and you go,
Right. Well, it's sort of like you've embraced and taken ownership of your confidence, your abilities, what you have to offer, and that in and of itself is attractive to others. And then on top of that, when you have people that are already desiring you, your product, your service, that makes you more desirable to others, right? So if you're at the party and there's no one talking to the one person, nobody thinks that person's desirable. You could later find out they were maybe like a prince or a billionaire, or, you know, like the next Silicon Valley guru, or who, whatever the case may be, but maybe they just didn't feel like engaging that day, and you got the prejudge and you put them in that box. But if you have that ability to kind of move with it, it kind of changes how the outcome and the road goes, I think, too, with that.
yeah.
What you're talking about is the be, do, have model. You know, where you embody what you want to be, what you want to have. You become that, you think that, you feel that, and then you just automatically happens. And by the way, Melissa, if I see that person in the corner, I beeline for them. Because
Me
I don't
too,
want
because
to
I just don't like that. And I used to host the like private, you know, things in DC, and it was my job to make everyone feel welcome. And that's where I also tried out a lot of my principles in my seduction laboratory. But, you know, it was like a way that it helped me not to ever be feeling like I can't break the ice with other people because I had to do it for others. And then it made me like give empathy to people, you know, that are there, so you can get everyone engaged and involved, and makes for a much more fun gathering.
So we are at the top of the hour once again. So we have filled a very exciting hour. This has been awesome. A great group. We're going to go around the room for a final comment. Your final comment can be something inspiring, or it can be something that someone can get from you if you have a freebie, website, whatever you want to share. It's your minute, or less than a minute, preferably, because we're after 3 o'clock. So start with James. Share your final words.
Sure. I'm James. I help six-figure business owners use digital marketing to drive growth with a new high-quality and effective website. So if you've liked what I've had to say today and the concept of improving your website and making it more effective in building long-term relationships with high-quality customers makes sense to you, my call to action, my path for you to follow is go to 6secondsorless.com, and you can book a complimentary free website UX audit. We'll spend a half an hour on the phone. We'll go through your website and we'll talk about some of these things and how you can improve the website, which is the most valuable digital asset that you own.
That sounds like an awesome thing that people should take advantage of. And I had the wrong website for you. It's like, wait, 6secondux.com. I don't have that in front of me. Is it SIX?
6secondsorless.com. It's a pretty URL that I use because, you know, people don't remember how to spell innately, and there's multiple N's in there and numbers, and it's way too complicated.
Clever.
6secondsorless.com, and it will give you an opportunity to book some time on my calendar.
Very good. All right. And Melissa.
Hi, everyone. Again, Melissa Vanoss, author of the Seduction as a Second Language series. I would love the opportunity if you've found interest or insight in what we've been talking about today, and you think that seduction is not what you thought it was. I would love to have a conversation with you. We can connect over LinkedIn, and you can also find more information on my latest book, which is the third book in my series, which is all about the idea of awakening your aura of seduction. So you can grab that on Amazon. It's available for pre-order, and my original, my first two books are fully available now. So you can grab those and get started in the meantime, and it'll start walking you through, working through your mindset, confidence building, and then using my hierarchy of seduction for your social seductions or your interpersonal seductions. Thanks, everyone.
And if people are searching up on Amazon, there's 2 S's in your last name, not 3, right?
Yes, 2 instead of 3. But
that.
it's great because I tell you, I've been every kind of typo, misspelling of my last name. It's pretty awesome at this point. But you'll see my picture there when you find me correctly. If you look under even the author page, you should find me that way too.
Very good. And Nicole.
Well, first, I just want to say thank you. I think all of you are so awesome. I appreciate being here, Michael, and you guys just rock. I just have enjoyed all of you. My books are on Amazon. I have 3 out right now. I have one for romantic relationships, one for parents, and the one for dating. And the one for dating you can get if you have Kindle Unlimited. You can get it for free. We just keep that one on there for that. I have a workplace needs language coming out. It should be out this April. And you can find me at the7candles.com. I'm on Facebook. I have a YouTube channel. Everything's under the 7 Candles. I keep it that way because I want us to have our candle lit. When we have our candle lit, we're shining. We're in happiness. And that is like so important because everybody is, again, that piece of the puzzle. And when you fit in that piece, you know, you get to be your unique self, but you get to be in community. And that's what it's about.
All right. Thank you. This has been a great show. It always is. And for those of you who to be like, so how do you choose who goes on the show? People apply. They give me the dates they're available. And then in the order they apply, I slot them into the dates that are available. And that is literally the process. There is I'm not looking at, I check their topics to make sure it's something that seems like they can fill some air and be interesting. But other than that, I put people together. I attract the right people. And so far, I think we're 3 months in and every show has been great. So it's pretty awesome. And thank you, Adam Bricker had another great suggestion for spelling your name.
I like that.
Nelson, what a great group, which I completely agree with. So thank you, Adam. All right, so thank you all. We're a little bit past the time, but I cleverly blocked out 15 minutes after the hour on my calendar, unlike when I first started this, and had a meeting right after, which was a terrible idea because this gets way too interesting. So for those of you who are watching, including our members in the studio, I do encourage you to go to guywhoknowsaguy.com/day and vote for me, Michael Whitehouse, the guy who knows a guy, for best podcaster in Southeast Connecticut. I have to be in Southeast Connecticut. You don't. So anywhere in the world, you can vote. I did come in 3rd place last time, but they combined radio host and podcaster. So it was famous conservative radio host, and most popular morning show person, then me.
That's impressive, though.
Yeah, so now they're out of the category. So I better take it this time. So that is the plan. And also, I have a summit. So if you like this vibe and this energy of people I attract, I've got a summit coming up. It is April 4th. It is free to attend. There is a VIP upgrade, but that's to get recordings and additional freebies. You get the entire summit, the whole engagement, everything just by showing up, going to guywhoknowsaguy.com/TGE for the great experiment. So if you can block out time on Monday, April 4th, I encourage everyone to come. It's going to be a fun, interactive sort of thing. And I'm going to make some awesome things happen because I know who the speakers are and it's going to be great. And I'm probably going to do it again with more days so I can bring in more speakers because I could probably put like 70 people in a summit and still have some left over and still have only amazing people because I know some really cool people. It's great that being a networker is how awesome I am is entirely dependent on how awesome the people I know are. So I can brag without actually bragging. It's not about me. It's about all of you. So thank you all. You 3 are some of those awesome people. Thanks for being a part of this. And thank you all for watching. And join us every Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific, and whatever other time it is in other parts of the world. There's apps for that to convert it. And thank you very much for being on the show.